broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this edition of Gun Guy Radio is supplied by LA Police Gear, lapolicegear.com.
Welcome to episode 101 of Gun Guy Radio. This is the podcast that shines a positive light on the firearms lifestyle. I'm your host, Jake Challand, and this is your weekly dose of positive firearms talk without the politics. LA Police Gear is offering an exclusive 10% discount for Gun Guy Radio listeners. Don't forget to use Gun Guy, that's right, Gun Guy, one word, and the discount code area of your checkout for 10% off. Brownells helps make this episode of Gun Guy Radio possible. Selection, service, satisfaction. Find it all at Brownells. Go to gunguyradio.com/satisfaction. Just a few announcements before we get started. As you may have heard, we have a brand new sponsor of Gun Guy Radio. That's right. I'm incredibly excited to introduce you to LA Police Gear. Many of you probably already know of them, but lapolicegear.com is just an awesome site for all of your tactical needs. They carry pretty much anything 5.11 you're looking for, Blackhawk, Maxpedition, Streamlight, Galco, as well as their very own LA Police Gear brand, which is incredible value. I love the LA Police Gear brand. Now, they don't even know this, but I actually discovered LA Police Gear through another podcast when I was just a podcast listener years ago. That's how I discovered LA Police Gear, and I ordered myself a few of their awesome products, and that's how I got turned on to them. So later on, after the main topic, I'm going to talk about one of those products that I ordered years ago and still use today. So, welcome aboard, LA Police Gear. Don't forget to use that Gun Guy discount code, Gun Guy, just one word altogether, for 10% off. But hurry, this discount offer ends January 31st. Stephen Reed toured the Bond Arms factory last week, and when they were there, they acquired a little something for you. That's right, you listening right now. We're announcing the Great Bond Arms Gun Guy Radio giveaway. We are giving away the new Bond Arms backup in 45 ACP and the matte finish version. So the very cool looking two-tone version. It's the newest member of the Bond Arms family. So it has a 2.5-inch barrel, rubber grip panels, powder-coated frame, and bead-blasted barrel, and it's only 4 inches overall length, 45 ACP power, that's right. So it's a $400 price point, little Derringer. Really excited to be giving this away. Big thank you to Bond Arms. They really love you guys, really love the Gun Guy Radio listeners, so thank you so much. I put a link to a YouTube video where you can see the Bond Arms backup a little bit closer. That's embedded in the show notes at gunguyradio.com/101. Okay, so you can enter this giveaway by going to firearmsinsider.tv/submit. For every review that you write for the Firearms Insider. Now, you could write it, you could record it as audio, you could shoot it as a video, but you have to, we're looking for quality reviews, so you have to follow our format, 8 key points, submit a picture of the item you're reviewing. But other than that, it's pretty simple. Just pick something you already own, something you've have good experience with, something that you can feel like you can provide value value to others by sharing your thoughts on that product. And you'll get entered, and for every review you submit, you get an entry. So we're going to announce the winner on May the 4th. All reviews must be submitted by April 30th. Now, you can review anything: guns, ammo, gear, gun parts, optics, clothing, anything, firearms, outdoor man related, even your ATV quad or something like that. I mean, something that a gun guy might use out in the field. Firearmsinsider.tv/submit, and you'll have all the instructions there on how to properly submit a review. Mike or Jared will look that over, and if there's any issue, they will email you back and let you know what to fix. But once it's good to go, they'll put it up live on the site, and you'll gain an entry for every time you do that. So this is really just part of the community part of the network, the Firearms Insider. We're about helping each other out. So we're going to give away a very cool Bond Arms backup to you guys for giving a little bit back to the community. And I think it should be a really, really fun experience for all of us. So, you can enter to win the Bond Arms backup in matte, in the matte finish, the two-tone finish, 45 ACP, by going to firearmsinsider.tv/submit. And the last announcement I wanted to talk about was that we're gearing up here for SHOT Show. I leave about a week from now, so very excited. We're gearing up. There's like 10 or 12 of us from the Firearms Radio Network going, and we're gearing up to shoot a bunch of video, highlight a bunch of products. So I set up a website. It's still just in its beginnings now, but you bookmark the site, and this is where you can go for all the SHOT Show highlights. All the everything we cover there will be posted here. So it's also part of the firearmsinsider.tv website. So it's firearmsinsider.tv/SHOT Show. Right now, what I have there is we're speculating on the top 20 products for this year at the firearms industry, largest trade show. You can email us any suggestions that you have that you think might be in the top 20, because these are things we want to make sure that we either shoot at range day, at media day, or that we track down that booth at SHOT Show and cover that product there. So firearmsinsider.tv/SHOT Show. Well, and this week for the main topic, I was honored to have Steve Waters and Rick Hastings from Liquid Transformations on the show, and we talk about alternative firearm finishes. That's right. Finishes that you can add to your gun to make it look a little cooler, or maybe you can fix an old gun that has a either worn or rusty finish, or maybe you tried to Krylon your gun and it didn't go so well. So sit back and relax and learn a little bit more about some very cool finishes that you can apply to really practically any gun. Welcome back. A couple of great guests here. Steve Waters, the owner of Liquid Transformations, and Rick Hastings, the Glock Doc, or the gun guy over there at Liquid Transformations. Hey, guys.
How you doing?
Hi, Jake.
And you guys are based in Idaho, is that why, or is it Washington?
Spokane, Washington.
Spokane, Washington. So, Steve, Liquid Transformations, it's... you guys do a lot of things. One of the things, or a few of the things I wanted to talk about are alternative firearm finishes. But why don't you give me a little rundown of the spectrum of things you do there?
Well, the spectrum starts where Liquid Transformation started with hydrographic printing. And the whole idea with the hydrographic printing, specifically in our area, was that we had no one around that would be able to offer this type of coating service. We had to search around and look high and low and left and right, and there was not very many reputable places that were even remotely close. So we decided to pick up the hydrographic printing and run with it. And then as we started to go, we noticed that a lot of folks were asking for durable coatings that were a single type coating, whereas hydrographic printing is very centered in automotive paintwork with primers and sealers and base colors and clear coats. Whereas Cerakote is another finish we offer that is a single color, single application, generally. That's a baked-on finish that seems to be a little bit more durable for firearm coatings, plus it's also very thin, so it works for tolerances and things like that.
Hydrographic printing. So what exactly is that? Hydrographic
printing is sometimes referred to as dipping. Industry terms, a lot of times they call it cubic printing, or there's quite a few different names for it, but a lot of folks just know it as camo dipping.
Or film dipping, is that a term?
Yes. The hydrographic printing process is a pretty cool one. It's one of those, until somebody gets to actually see it in person or in video, they really don't get the concept of what it is, because it is definitely kind of funky. What we end up doing is taking apart, let's say it's a rifle stock, and we take a rifle stock, and if it's a wood or polymer, we prep it as you would, depending on the material. Sometimes we need a primer, sometimes we need to do a little body work to it, but it's very much like automotive paint work, where you need a base color, a primer, either a sealer or a primer, and then we go from there up to a base color. Then we can print, and the printing process goes from the base color. We choose a pattern or a print that we're going to use, and we float that on the surface of our tank. And if you do a little searching on YouTube, you can see a lot of guys are doing this, and a lot of guys make it look easy. And it's fairly straightforward, just like anything once you've gotten it figured out. But it's definitely one of those where we've seen a lot of guys try to do it themselves, even local guys that are trying to be competition try it themselves and end up having to tuck tail and bring it to us and have us fix it. So it is it's a process that's very cool and very technical, but at the same time, it solves a lot of solutions that where something maybe where an airbrush guy would have to come in and do a lot of detail work, and it may not be something that is inexpensive as we can offer it via an airbrush guy.
So, Steve, tell me, how does it actually adhere to whatever you're dipping? Like, how does it actually stick?
Great question. So the process that we go through, we have to have a substrate that's ready to be printed on. And by doing that, we have the availability for ABS plastics, generally have the capability of being able to be dipped directly. But primarily what we find is we have to paint a surface. And primarily we will find ourselves either using waterborne paint or solvent-borne paint. Each one has its own benefits and detriments, but generally the waterborne paint is something that we have a longer dipping window for, so it doesn't flash off and basically seal itself, so it cannot allow the ink, which is in the hydrographic printing film, to print. So the process going from a painted wood rifle stock, the adherence happens with taking the film. We float that on the surface of the water. We give it about 60 seconds for it to relax on the surface of the water, and the water in the tank is a heated water. It's roughly about 85 to 90 degrees, depending on the film. And with that allows the film to soften and become more pliable. Then what we do is we take a liquid activator. It's a spray, and the spray gets sprayed on the surface of the floating hydrographic printing film. It stays floating, but once we've hit that with that animating fluid or that activating fluid, it sinks into the ink and refluidizes that ink. So once that's there, it's a floating pool of ink. If you were to reach down and touch it, it would print to your finger. And it really does, it sticks to your skin pretty well. We use rubber gloves, but generally we end up going down further as we're dipping through the surface and get some on your arm. And I've found that mostly to get it off, it's going to be a Scotch-Brite pad. Wow. So the adherence happens with the process, and the best way I can describe for folks how the process works and what it is, it's very much like if you were to have a large vinyl sticker in your hands and you have your product sitting on your table. Well, if you were to think of the hydrographic printing process as a reverse of that, where you have the film sitting on the water instead of having the vinyl in your hands, and the water is basically the squeegee. So by taking your object and dipping it through the surface of the ink pool that's floating, that ink pool adheres because of the surface tension or the water pressure being pushed against the item. And then very much like, it's like I said, you'd have to see it happen, but you can basically see as it applies that it's rolling and flowing over the parts and pieces where a sticker would not be able to do that.
Uses the surface tension of the water to create kind of a squeegee effect.
So, Rick, you're the gun guy there. You handle dipping the firearms. Is that right?
I actually do the disassembly and reassembly and fitment of the firearms once it's done. So
run me through that process. Let's say I send you a Glock to have dipped. What do you do to that to get it prepped?
Well, you just start by disassembling it down to as far as it will go. We disassemble the slides, we disassemble the frames, all internal parts, trigger parts, all that stuff comes out. Anything like accents that someone wants dipped, maybe like a extended slide stop or like the mag release or something like that. That's all done separately. And then it goes over to prep and usually gets soaked in a degreaser, so it takes out all the oils and stuff. And then depending on what we're doing with it, we'll either bead blast it or we will scrub it with a industrial degreasing agent. Okay.
Now, I guess for audio listeners, can you guys describe that? Because if you've never seen anything dipped like this, it's incredible, the different designs that you can do.
So for our audio listeners, the coating is very much, when it's done, it looks like it's been airbrushed. Generally, we find a lot of patterns that we do are something that would either be very time-consuming and detailed for an airbrush guy to do, or something very difficult for an airbrush professional to take care of. Very similar, the best one I can describe is carbon fiber. That's something for masking and for the technique that's required. Some guys that are very skilled can make it look like carbon fiber, but the hydrographic print really pulls the look off. The way that I can describe for folks that have never seen this, that may have actually seen products that they own or that their friends own or that they've seen in some other application. Number one is for firearms. The camo that's on a rifle stock, I would say 95% of those are all done hydrographically. If they've got images of leaves and twigs and sticks in them, that's generally going to be a hydrographic print. So that's a lot of the things you've seen before, but also on the interiors of automotive, dash pieces and center consoles and door trim, all the wood grain or the stone-looking finishes. That's all stuff that's been done hydrographically as well.
So, basically, though, camo or like tiger stripe, and different color variations of all that are very popular. But you can basically put any design on there you want, right?
The way that it works with the hydrographic print is that there are many, many patterns available, and they're also customizable from the perspective of the way that you approach with masking and with uses of colors, because many patterns can look very different based on the end result of the process that you use with either candies or base colors that you can change or top coats, masking techniques, stencils, that kind of thing. Primarily what we've seen for this type of an object or process is, I guess the long and the short of it is that it's a process that makes it easier or quicker to be able to obtain those kind of details that you wouldn't otherwise get. Plus, it's also very good for applications like a dash bezel or a rifle stock that would have recesses or very tight corners where a sticker would never stay. And hydrographic print, once it's done, it's a floating ink. So that ink flows into its area, it prints, and no longer has any kind of a backer that would possibly pull away. It's ink.
So tell me about the durability. What would you compare it to?
Hot rod paint. As long as it's been prepped correctly, and this is what we see the most common time we see people bring us firearms or items that have failed from just parts or pieces or experiences that they've had from other folks doing this. The failures that we see are from prep work. So keeping them clean, using the right materials, using the right products, the right timing. This is very much like cooking in regard to having the right chef. And you could have all the same materials and have one chef do that process and have another chef do it and have them come out very differently. And so from the durability perspective, the best thing I suggest for folks is if you were to have a hot rod paint job done with automotive paint, the expectation for the UV protection, for the durability of scratching, from chipping, all of those kind of things are all really going to be based on how the item's being taken care of. But inherently, the process that we do, a lot of folks compare paintwork to what they've seen with Krylon or with rattle cans, and generally those are a non-catalyzed type of an application. What that means is very much like fiberglass resin. When you mix a fiberglass resin or an epoxy, you need some sort of a catalyzer or an activator. And that's primarily what the majority of the products we use through the process with a primer that gets mixed and it's catalyzed. The base coats, depending on which it is, it's either mixed and catalyzed and reduced or mixed and reduced. It just depends on what the item calls for. But the cross-linking is what also allows all these items or these different coatings to be as adhered to each other as possible. So from a durability perspective, it's as good as a 90-mile-an-hour hot rod paint job.
So do you provide any kind of warranty?
The warranty that we express for folks is a satisfaction warranty, and we've found that we've put the warranty out there, and we do a warranty based on a year. If it's gonna have problems, it's gonna show up in probably the first 30 days. But with that being said, we want our customers happy. And if we were to put a warranty out there any further than 365, I would say that we're opening ourselves up for possible abuse. Sure. And so when it comes down to it, though, every item that we do or every project we do is always dealt with customer service in hand. And so if a customer comes in and says, "Hey, man, this doesn't look like this should be happening. What do you think?" We want our customers happy. So there's going to be a lot of gray area between here and there with the warranty, and we're not a factory. So all the products we do, we're not able to just hand you another one because everything we do is custom. So if a customer's unhappy with something we do, we make sure that they're happy when they leave.
So, Rick, what types of guns do you see coming through there?
Mostly handguns, mostly semi-automatic handguns, really. XDs, Glocks, M&Ps, a few Walthers, stuff like that.
I've linked to your website, liquidtransformations.com, and you have a really cool gallery where you can see all the different kinds of... I assume these are all guns you've dipped in the past there, but there's also a fair amount of long guns. It seems like... Oh,
yeah. We haven't seen too many come through the door lately, mostly handguns. So to get one through is kind of cool because it opens up a new world for us,
What's the strangest gun you've seen come through there?
Oh, I think the one we did was Flower Power.
Yeah, I was going to say that one, but I think the oddest gun that I thought was just really crazy was a guy brought in a Mosin Nagant project that had a bullpup kit that he wanted to put on. And for some reason, he wanted this Mosin Nagant to look all steampunk and futuristic. So he chose burl wood for the pattern and kind of an ivory accent with white. And then Flower Power was definitely another one. It was an Olympic Arms AR-15 pistol that was it was chambered in 7.62 by 39. And I am not kidding. This is like your typical Volkswagen hippie bus pattern that you'd see, And he wanted it done, and I wanted his mags done, and it turned out great. I mean, if you want to call the abomination
if that's
great.
Your thing.
Yeah, and that was cool, and it fit him, and he liked it, and he was very pleased. And so, anything that people bring in to do is... Yeah. You question them at first and you wonder, are you seriously want to do this to this gun? But, by the time it gets all done, it's kind of cool to see their eyes light up and see exactly what they wanted. That's the big reward.
Sure. Well, very cool. Now, you guys...
Well, and Jake, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I was going to come back to you'd asked about the patterns and asked about the virtual capability of what is possible. And so, just to let me touch back on that really quick, the patterns, the way that they're manufactured, they're manufactured overseas, and that's a larger process that they have to go through to be able to be a functional, ready-to-go pattern. It's unfortunately not quite as easy as jumping on your printer and throwing in an image and having it print out, because it is a specific type of an ink and it's a specific type of a backing, and it has to be done in a specific style of way. So the minimum that they require to make a very custom individualized pattern is 250 meters of film to be produced on their printing press. So it is a larger process. It's very similar to having a bolt of fabric made. So in that regard, it's not as custom as quite yet. And I know that the hydrographic printing industry is moving that way. But right now there are a couple systems available, but they are extremely expensive and very unrealistic about the custom capability. So there are some limitations, but once we get into the creative side and start talking to a customer about what their goals are and what the end result is going to be, I would say out of 100 projects, we've had about 2 or 3 that we just weren't able to get to where the customer was trying to go with it.
So this film, does it come in like rolls, or what kind of form does it come in?
It does come in rolls. It's very, very similar to a window tinting film, where it shows up in a large, long tube, and from there, depending on the way you order it, and this is some of the games that you have to deal with in the hydrographic printing industry because they are something that they have to be received from a supplier. We find ourselves in a situation where, do we buy enough film for just this one project, or do we buy enough film to have for this project and then also keep on stock for that walk-in guy that says, hey, I got to have this right now. What can we do it in this right here? So there's costs involved with that, and that's something that having a business backing this type of a project is much cleaner and much more straightforward for a customer than to have someone that does it on their own, or I don't know. It simplifies things a lot by having us do it this way.
So how much flower power film do you have on stock?
I have to do your AK.
Yeah, we ended up doing on that one. I think we ended up having to special order that, and that wasn't a custom film, but it was one that I ended up having to buy from overseas. Nobody in the States had it. So I contacted one of my suppliers overseas, and they sent me, I think I've probably got about 40 meters of that stuff left. So plenty opportunity there.
I see there's one on here that's a snake skin pattern as well. That's kind of cool.
The snake skins are very cool. There's quite a few different ones that are available. I would say probably 6 to 10 on our website, and probably another, maybe 10 from other places. And then the cool thing about it is that you can change the base color with those. With the red boa, there's a red boa pattern that we did. I think we did an M1A. I found that the base colors on those, if you wanted to look more realistic, you could do a cream base color with that, and it gives it the reptile skin base color. But I've also seen where we've done that pattern with a softer red base, and man, the colors really pop with that red base. So it really depends on the flavor that a customer's really going for. Turns out really cool either way.
So now you guys also do some other finishes, correct?
Correct. The other finishes that we do right now, the hydrographic printing, of course, and that's centered in the automotive paint. So we go quite a ways left and right with the automotive paint for candies and metal flakes and a lot of different very cool features that way. We do the Cerakote. Cerakote is a high durability coating on one side with their oven cure version, and then they've got an air dry version that's a high temperature coating. So we can do exhaust and headers and turbos, super high temperature stuff, up to 1800 degrees with most of the colors that are available, and then we can go a little bit past 2000 with one of their blacks.
So that would work well on barrels as well, right?
Absolutely,
yeah.
Yep. And we also do that with scopes, because scopes, you don't want to bake them. If you do bake them, you're going to bake them at a very low temperature to have it kick, but not to a cure process like you would on the standard oven cure stuff.
And so Cerakote, how is that applied? What's the process?
Cerakote's generally going to be something that is prepped. The item is prepped with like Rick was describing, a solvent clean or an acetone brake cleaner, something along those lines. And then it gets sandblasted. Primarily we use aluminum oxide for all of the prepping of these items. What it does is it gives us a chance to create a profile On a microscopic level, it takes a little bit of the surface away. It's not a noticeable difference, but it does freshen everything up. And what that also does is it gives itself a little bit of room for the new Cerakote to take the place of the high temp, or excuse me, the very close tolerances that firearms require. So for Cerakote being a firearm coating, it's excellent for that process.
Can we talk price a little bit? Like let's go back to the Glock. If I was looking to get either get it dipped or get it Cerakoted, what would I be looking at for those two options? Generally we see, and every project's different, so pricing is always one of those difficult ones for us because every customer, and I say every customer, a lot of customers like to see a price and then try to work the deal and try to slip in something or try to make it so it's a little bit more difficult and they're really getting their money's worth out of the project. And so when it comes down to that kind of thing, we try to assess every project for what it is. Also, we like to ask customers what's the most important factor that's important to them based on timing, the price, or the quality. And we really don't sacrifice on the quality. We don't make that an option for, we'll do a lesser quality option for you if you want it less expensive. We don't do that. So really the two factors that we ask for is if it's a time or a price thing. So from a pricing perspective, I would say that you're probably looking at about a 20 to 30% lower cost on the Cerakote because it is a fairly straightforward process based on what we have to do to it, whereas the automotive paint section side, it has a lot more chemistry involved. It also has a lot more timing and just a lot more to do to account for to make sure that all these products come out the way that you expect them to. So generally, let's say a Glock, you're coming in and you want to do a slide. If you were to do a slide on a general basis, we're looking about $75 to $100, depending on the size of it. If it's a smaller one, we'll probably get down to $60, $65 like that. Again, we also have guys come in that are gun guys to a level where they take their stuff apart and they clean them, but they don't pull springs, they don't pull pins, they don't take stuff apart. They know it very well. They can clean it and strip it, but they don't detail strip them. And so pricing is also based on that. I've seen guys price stuff with disassembly included, but a guy brings in an ACR and pricing's included, you're going to get your lunch handed to you because that thing's going to take a lot more time than a standard AR-15. So hydrographic print, barrels, I can kind of give rough ideas on barrels. Barrels start about $100 with Cerakote. They go up to about 150 to 200 depending on what we're doing for the dipping. If we're doing a rifle stock, generally rifle stocks in a hydrographic print. If it's a wood stock, you're probably looking about 2 1/4. That gives you a Cerakote. We're probably looking into the 150 to 200 range. So that gives you kind of a rough ballpark of what the idea it might run you. It's not $1 million, but we're definitely not doing it for peanuts because we found that it's a more of a specialized process than we thought it was, and we've even seen guys locally, like I was saying before, that are skilled at what they do, but they can't make it work, and we've got it figured out. I guess that's really the beauty of hydrographic printing is that you can do wood, plastic, steel. Is there anything you can't do with that? Rubberized
items, we get a lot of call for Hogue over molds. Guys wanted to dip those, and paint doesn't stick to rubber, so that's one of those items. Semi-flexible items that are, we found what was that? Was that a SR22, Rick, that we had the grip, the slip-on grip issue? Was that an SR22 or is that a?
Yeah, you're right. It was an SR22.
Yeah.
We had thought we'd had that worked out with the grip inserts, like off an M&P.
And the Walthers, yeah.
And that one was just a little softer than most.
Yeah, it was thinner and softer, and the flexibility. Cerakote and paint, as long as you apply the right type of flexibility additives, can be flexible, but there are certain items, if they're rubberized and flexible, boy, that's a double whammy. And then the other thing we don't do is clothing, because clothing has its own game. You're going to wash it. It needs to be able to have the indelibility of a screen print or something like that. So that's got its own gig. But we find that generally if it's going to be a clothing item, it's just that somebody hasn't tracked down the right type of process for the clothing, whereas somebody brings us, let's say, like key fob remotes. You try to put a sticker on that's just not going to work. But hard plastic, that's great. That's great.
And one thing I noticed on your website is you have a dip cam.
You do.
So tell me about that.
Well, the dip cam is something that's, even though we've been in business for about 3 years, it's still in its infancy, and we would like to be able to do a little bit more with it and do a little more involvement with customers and being able to push our notifications out to Facebook or Google Plus or wherever it might be. And we're just not quite to that point yet. But what it is for us and for our customers is it's a window into what we do, and it gives you a chance to log into the dip cam. And we've got the website dipcam.com where you can log in, and it's a direct view of our dipping tank. Generally, the dipping process, because it's, there's a 60-second delay between when we lay the film on the water and then we activate, and then from the activation, there's either a 15 up to a 15-second, all the way up to a minute wait time. But really, there's only a couple minutes that really something's ready to be dipped and ready to be watched. So it's definitely a quick one, and we're trying to get to the point where we can let customers know before we're dipping them so they can watch, or they can invite their friends to say, hey, check this out. This is what we're having done right now. You can watch it happen right now. So that feature was pretty cool for us, and we thought that the overall concept of that was going to be a good one. It's just something we need to do a little bit more, I think, a little bit more depth of, to be able to make it so it's as full-featured as it could be.
Well, that's very cool. So what would you say the biggest benefit of film dipping is?
The biggest benefit, I would say, is to keep the pricing in comparison to an airbrush artist. To have the customer have the availability to change an item that dramatically changes the way it looks, and also the way that it's sealed and the way that it functions moving forward. Flat finishes, semi-gloss, glossy finishes, those will all change the way a product looks, even if it's got the same print all the way across the board. If you do a gloss, semi-gloss, or a flat finish, it will change the look of it. So the main feature, I would say, to hydrographic printing is the fact that it can cover three-dimensional items in such a simple way. The project or the process, it sounds very complicated, but once we actually get the tire on the road with this stuff, it's a pretty straightforward process. So the end result for being able to get into contours and tighter corners, that's really the major benefit to hydrographic printing. And then being able to apply a pattern like a camo or a carbon fiber, scully prints, that kind of stuff, really just makes it accessible to folks that don't want to spend $100 an hour for an airbrush guy to work on his rifle.
Thank you so much. Well, any final thoughts? Anything else I missed?
I think so. I mean, so I didn't really touch on this, but we do powder coating. Really doesn't apply to firearms as much. But we also do Kydex holsters, and we make custom Kydex holsters, and they are made specifically for the shooter and for their pistol. We do not make them off of blue guns or off of pre-molded guns. Every pistol is different. Even though they're out of the same factory, the same stuff, this, that, and the other, they are different. And so we found that it's very much like tailoring for a holster for someone, and folks really like it. They really. I'm pleasantly surprised at the type of response we've gotten from it. We can mix depending on what surface they want. If they want a black on black or a black on a red, black on carbon fiber on red, something like that. We also have special order colors that we can get. But we try to keep it fairly straightforward and simple, but we will cater to the special order. It just steps outside of the affordability that most people are looking for. So we try to keep it close to the cuff that way. But yeah, the Kydex holsters they're very slick, and they work very well with what we do.
Yeah, so you could essentially film dip. I call it film dipping. Sorry.
That's okay. Yep.
You could dip your gun and your holster to match, right?
We sure could. Because the holster is what we would consider a high wear item, banging against corners or dragging, we would be able to do those in those type of instances, and we just give folks the heads up to say, you got to treat this thing as if it was the outside of your car. You can't drag the panels of your car down a fence.
So, let's say I get my carry gun done knowing that it's going to wear. What type of wear? Is it going to wear similar to, like you see police trading Glocks wear on the slide and stuff, or is it going to wear worse than that?
Cerakote is going to wear very similar. Cerakote is probably going to wear better in comparison to, say, a bluing. So if it's a daily EDC type thing, I would say that it's going to be something you're going to want to Cerakote. At bare minimum, the slide, because of the durability on the muzzle. And we just recently had a girl come in that had a Kydex holster made. She had Cerakote on the slide. She had hydrographic printing on the frame. And because of the type of animal that Kydex holsters are, they're a friction type of a fit. They're also a friction insert. And so when you're applying that into the holster, there is a possibility that there's going to be wear. And holster wear is holster wear is holster wear. And so when it comes to that kind of thing, because we're the coaters, we can do the process again. So if a customer comes in, has a Kydex holster made, has a frame dipped, and starts to see wear or starts to see chipping outside of a normal time frame, after that, that year time frame, if there's any issues that start happening, we take care of it. But the wear that you're going to find is going to be right around the nose of the muzzle, also right at the leading edge of the trigger guard, because that's primarily where the majority of the retention comes from, is actually the trigger guard section. So that would be the expectation there. Maybe not the outside of the slide like a leather holster would, or maybe a tight nylon holster may cause. But it's definitely it's gonna. Kydex is a soft plastic. It's a thermoformed plastic, and it is a very tough plastic. But on a Rockwell scale of hardness, it's softer than any gun finish. So the thing that we've seen guys doing linings and different things in Kydex holsters, and the research that's been done back and forth with a lot of guys that are really getting stringent about this stuff to say, hey, this is better or this is worse. They've found that having a liner inside of a Kydex holster is not what you want. The warm and fuzzy you may get from it when you first get it is good. It may feel like a microfiber or a suede or something on the inside, but what you're going to find is that's going to retain dirt and sand
and moisture.
And junk.
Yeah.
Moisture too, yep.
Yeah.
That's the other thing with moisture for holsters, for leather holsters. Guys are going to horsehide leather holsters to try to knock down or minimize the moisture content. Well, that's fine, but when it comes down to moisture, it's not necessarily primarily the moisture that's going to get to your gun. It's the microbes that are growing in the leather, and that eats away your gun finish. So definitely something to consider.
Okay. Kept you guys a long time. I appreciate this, but let me ask you one more, or throw you a hypothetical here, I guess. I've got a buddy with a Mossberg 500 shotgun that's kind of beat the heck, and someone Kryloned it, Yep,
so we've worked on a lot of those.
It's pretty much botched and it's kind of beat up. So what is that something that you could take? You would, I guess, take it down to the bare metal, right? And how would that work?
Depending on what it is, if it's been coated with black oxide prior, or if it's been a blued coating prior to the rattle can, we will knock it down as far as we can, to the point where if it's a standard coating and a factory coating that's there and it seems to be in solid state, we'll knock the paint off of it and give it a profile. But primarily we do like to get down to the raw metal, because that's what majority of these products are made to stick to, is the raw metal. So my suggestion for his shotgun would be to, if he's comfortable with it, if he wants to send it to us all in one shot, we can basically, we call it the hand over the keys type of process, where here's my keys, here's my car, go for it. Same kind of thing. You hand over the rifle, shotgun, pistol, whatever it might be, and we take them all apart for him and we put them back together for him. And we found that customers have actually had problems after a coating has been applied, because there are some tolerance things that you have to account for, whether or not they're going to be seen or whether or not they need to be dealt with, that Rick has become very familiar with the problem areas. So for the cost of what it might be for someone to send us an item, to have us disassemble, clean, inspect, do the process, reassemble, function test, it's very worth that cost. But if somebody is comfortable with doing the disassemblies and the reassemblies, we always tell people that we have that opportunity for them to do that. They can send us parts and pieces. So if he's comfortable with doing that, to send us all the parts and pieces all stripped down in pieces, we would do the prep work from there moving forward, and then send him back parts and pieces, and then he can reassemble it. One story I like to tell is on that actually the M1A that I was telling you about that we did for the Red Boa. This was a project that if he would have sent this to us in pieces, we wouldn't have seen the reveals of the way that the cheek guard sits on the stock. And through the process and the prep work, all the parts and pieces got painted that skin-colored tan. And, well, after we got it all done, we got all the parts dipped and everything was just looked beautiful. But we put the cheek rest on it, and we noticed, we missed that part. That part's totally visible. And if a customer would have been sent that back and reassembled, he would have probably been like, what the heck, guys? because we didn't see the way that it was exploded versus the way it was all assembled. And so we actually caught that after we had assembled it, took the cheek rest back off, masked everything back off, and blacked out the inside of that so it looked presentable. Those are the details that, if a customer's of the opinion that they want it to look as best as possible without any kind of concerns, it really just has to factor into their budget.
Yeah, it seems like if you do come across a completely botched finish job like that'd be a real good option to either go Cerakote or film dipping to fix it, I guess, because there's some real solid guns out there. You see them at gun shows or gun stores once in a while that you're like, what were they thinking? But it's a solid gun underneath all that Krylon.
We see a lot of that. We see a lot of folks that are picking up rigs at the pawn shop or from their buddy that thought it was a piece of junk, and he knew what it was, and he knew what we do, and he brings it in and says, here, make this thing look brand new. And I'm telling you, the processes that we go through make stuff look brand new. I mean, if it doesn't look brand new, it's damn close.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, very cool. Steve and Rick, thank you so much for sharing film dipping and Cerakote. And if anyone's interested, what's the best way to contact you guys?
Well, we have a lot of folks hit us on the website. There's quite a few locations you can go. There's a Start Dipping button on the very top of our page that sends you to a form to fill out, so you can fill out all your information there and get the process started there. We also have a fairly good Facebook page that has direct access to us to ask questions and send us messages and see other pictures of projects that we've done in the past. And specials we run, events that we have coming up, that kind of stuff. So Facebook's a really good one. Email, info@Liquid Transformations. You can also send it to Steve at Liquid Transformations. Those will all come to me. And from there, I would say...
.com, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Well, very cool. I have to give a shout-out to Savage from the We Like Shooting podcast. He turned me on to you guys and said I had to get you on, so... Thank you so much.
Thanks, Savage. We really appreciate you.
Well, thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. We appreciate it, too.
See you later.
It was a lot of fun talking to Steve and Rick. Can't thank them enough. So Liquid Transformations. Check them out. I got links in the show notes to their website, their social media, and more importantly, the gallery. You can check out all the possibilities that you can put on your gun. LA Police Gear, I'd like to thank them for making this episode of Gun Guy Radio possible, lapolicegear.com. And I wanted to talk about the LAPG Tactical Bailout Gear Bag. Now, this was one of the first things I ordered from them when I heard about them on a podcast years ago, and I picked one of these up. Cool thing about it, right now, they're only $19.99, so this is my range bag. This is my bag that I always take to the range. It's not giant, and it's not real tiny. It's just like the perfect medium size. It's got pouches, plenty of pouches on the sides for magazines. It's got a divider inside, and it's even has a pouch where you can slide a pistol and its own little separated compartment, and then it velcros shut. So it's got great velcro flaps on all these pouches, and then it's got in these pouches on the ends I keep a water bottle, and one and the other end I keep gun cleaning, a spray lubricant. I have like 3 different things in there, and even like a screwdriver. And then on the sides, I keep the magazines, and then there's room for like batteries and some of the smaller pouches on the sides. And then it's got a great shoulder strap. That's what I really like about it. It's got a shoulder strap for lugging this, your stuff around, whether it's you're shooting IDPA or something, 3-gun event. It's real handy to just throw that over your shoulder, and then you can carry all your other stuff. LA Police Gear, their own branded products are just as durable as the name brand products. In fact, they're probably even made by some of the name brands. Check it out. The LA Police Gear Tactical Bailout Bag. I mean, you can't beat it. $19.99. And also, you can use the Gun Guy Radio limited time offer discount code Gun Guy. That's right, Gun Guy. One word. You add that to your page when you're checking out. You hit apply, and like for example, it took $2 off instantly. So yeah, you just the promo code box at the checkout, enter Gun Guy, and you're already saving money. Big thank you to LA Police Gear for making this episode of Gun Guy Radio possible. LAPoliceGear.com.
Ballroom jeans, fire hose work pants, and long tail tees are 3 favorites among the men of Gun Guy Radio. Duluth Trading Company has perfected the art of clothing the manly man. If you want manly comfort that's trusted by these gun guys, go to gunguyradio.com/Duluth and check out the other manly essentials Duluth Trading Company offers gun guys like us.
All right, welcome back to the Gun Guy Radio Brownell's Product Spotlight with Brownell's Category Manager, Paul Levy. Hey, Paul.
Hey, Jake.
Is it product category?
Category Manager.
I had it right the first time. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's all right.
Well, let's illuminate something here and talk about the Brownell's versatile flashlights.
Yes.
They're a little brighter than I am.
Well, I hope not by too much. I don't know how many lumens you rate. We have the Brownell's versatile lights. We have currently have 2 Brownell's lights. The 160 and the 280. Those are named based on their lumens. 160 lumen and a 280 lumen. Basically, a nice, efficient, value-oriented flashlight. It's compact, meets the needs of most gun owners. It's about the right size to fit in your pocket, cargo pants, while still being manageable if you're manipulating a firearm or need to use a light in a stressful situation. Some nice things about it. Of course, all aluminum housing. The brightness is probably the best feature. 160 on the entry level, and then 280 on the higher end BVL. They have a momentary on, just slightly depress that, and you have a momentary switch, and then it could, of course, be fully engaged just by fully depressing, like most flashlights. The nice thing about this is it comes with an O-ring, so you can use it holding it for a style where you use the syringe method. So you use a handgun and hold the light in one hand, or you can also do the traditional, of course. This might be the FBI style. I'm not well versed on my various flashlight carry methods or shooting methods. I should be. It also comes stock with a lanyard, so you can wrap that on when you're using it, so you don't, of course, drop it. It also comes with 3 different lenses: a red, green, and a blue. Red, of course, preserve your night vision when you're reading a map or something like that. Blue, if you're tracking blood, it illuminates that well. And also, the most handy feature I've found so far is that it's a standard 1-inch diameter tube. That allows you, of course, to use the variety of weapon mounts that are out there in the market. I have this BVL mounted up on a Viking Tactics mount on an AR-15 personal one, and I find it to be basically perfect for a carbine. You can easily handle or manipulate the light itself with a standard grip, and you can activate it with your thumb really pretty easy. So it's a great value for being able to mount it as well as being able to carry it in an all-aluminum house flashlight.
Yeah, and they're I mean, for the price point, you can't beat it. Their MSRP price for the 160 is $59.99, and for the 280, it's $89.99. So both well under $100. And you guys frequently, I see you guys run sales on them where, right now, the 160 is only $39.99. So if you keep your eye out and get, that's a deal. I mean, some of the bigger mag lights cost that much. So
yeah, they're nice lights. And just a little hint, we will have some even higher lumen lights coming in the future. Maybe a little ways out, but you can look forward to that anyways. Keeping that some of the same features, all aluminum body. I didn't mention either that it has the strike face. It's not a flat strike face, so if you need to break something, particularly glass, it's possible. by just impacting it against whatever surface you're breaking.
Well, the real question is, when are you coming out with your zombie poker bezels?
I'm not aware of that coming out anytime soon. I'm out of the loop on that one.
Or is the zombie stuff out of style now?
Yeah, I'd say it probably is.
Well, again, the 100% satisfaction guarantee, lifetime returns on these flashlights. But these make a great gift, I think. Gift idea.
Oh yeah. We see a lot gifted around the holidays. I know a lot of employees buy them just for gifts because they're well built. And it says Brownells on it, and it's guaranteed for life. If you're not satisfied when you get it, you don't like the size or some feature on it, just send it back.
Sure. And I'm excited to announce that we're giving away, for the month of January here at Gun Guy Radio, we're giving away 5 of these to 5 lucky listeners or viewers. So you can go to gunguyradio.com/winner to enter our mailing list to get entered. A chance to win the BVL. We're giving away the brighter version of the two, the BVL 280, which retails for $89.99. So
it's a nice light.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Paul, thank you so much for illuminating Gun Guy Radio a little bit here.
You're going to use that the whole time.
I regretted it the second I said it.
All right.
We'll see you next week, Paul.
All right. See you then.
Right, in the Brownells giveaway, don't forget we're giving away 5 Brownells BVL 280 flashlights. That's right, 280 lumens in your tactical flashlight. We're giving this away the 26th. We need all entries are due by the 22nd, so you can enter by going to gunguyradio.com/winner, gunguyradio.com/winner. We'll get you entered because you're subscribing to our email newsletter list, and you only have to subscribe once, and you're entered for life. So, yeah, check out the Brownells BVL 280 Lumen flashlight. We're giving 5 away on January 26th.
Gun Guy Radio says thank you and proudly displays artwork and graphics designed by Ryan Cross of Hunter of Design. hunterofdesign.com.
Well, that about wraps up the show. You can send feedback to jake@gunguyradio.com. And don't forget to purchase, Gun Guy Radio stickers are still up there on the website. And join the NRA and the Second Amendment Foundation. Don't forget we have a Firearms Radio Network Android app. And we have a Windows app coming soon, very soon, so stay tuned for more on that. And we're still working on the Roku channel. That's right, the Roku channel where we'll start to put all the audio podcasts up as well as some of the video podcasts. And don't forget to check out all the other awesome shows on the Firearms Radio Network, firearmsradio.tv/iTunes. And check out the God and Guns podcast on iTunes, godandgunspodcast.com/iTunes. Doug and Troy just interviewed Master Chief Ron Bellin from Reaper Outdoors. And we'll see you next week.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv.